What's poppin'? How you guys doing? Hope everything's going well for you. Just wanted to hop on here today and make a video about Battlefield 6, as the beta is right around the corner, unless you got a drop early like I did, and I played for 5-ish, maybe like 4-ish hours yesterday. But I wanted to hop in here and make a video on the aim settings, specifically for controller players. So if you're a mouse and keyboard and you clicked on this video, I got nothing for you. But if you just want to see it for controller because you might want to try it out, this is for anyone that's slightly interested. But I wanted to hop in here and make a video about it, as the way they have their aim setting, or being able to get into their aim settings, is very confusing to start off, and it's very convoluted as to what certain things do. And they have explanations, but because it's the beta, things don't exactly line up, explanations don't line up. I've run some testing, I spent a few hours on it, so I just want to tell you what makes it feel good for me, and then kind of give you a breakdown on how to best optimize your settings without having to struggle finding everything and adjusting everything and testing stuff out. I just want to give you the fast track to all of that. So let's hop into the game here. And then when you first load in, this is the screen you'll see. My first recommendation that you should do is you should just, if you go to the very bottom here, you'll see firing range. Just hop into there, and you can immediately feel what the base aim settings will feel like. Step one is going to be this. If you hit options from the firing range, you cannot go directly into the settings. That might change, as this is just the beta. They might let you go to the options straight from the firing range. I don't know, so take note that everything I say might be changed when the full game releases, but this is mainly for the beta. So if you want to adjust settings, you just quit to menu and it pops you right back here. It's very quick, there's no downtime. So if you go to gameplay, thinking that's maybe where the settings are, you'll see infantry aim sensitivity, and that's the only thing that you can see from this menu. That's the only thing you can adjust, and that's just your base sensitivity. So what I would do is adjust that until you feel comfortable hopping into the firing range and it feels like you're turning as fast as you'd like to be, you're seeing stuff as fast as you'd like to see it, you feel good, it feels like a comfortable aim setting for you. That's step one, done. Then if you want to adjust things further, and this is where things got a little confusing for me, you'll click on controller, and on the bottom right of the screen you'll notice it says edit settings. You'll hit triangle and it'll pull up this menu. Now, what I'm going to focus on is just the infantry settings. They have different settings for ground vehicles, transport, aircraft, helicopter, gunner. I'm not going to be touching on any of those because I don't really mess with any of those. This is just for making your gunplay feel good. But if you want to adjust things, you'll click on controller settings, custom modify, and it'll start you off at the top here. And you'll notice it has your infantry aim from the before menu sitting right here if you need to adjust it. And then you can adjust field of view, your zoom sensitivity coefficient, which if you don't know what that is, it essentially means that as you increase your zoom on a gun, like if you go from a 1x scope to a 2x, or if you have a sniper on with like a 13x, it tries to make it feel like your sensitivity is the same regardless of your zoom. So if you lower this, at higher zooms, it'll feel like you have lower sensitivity, or if you raise it past this point, at higher zooms, it'll feel like you have a higher sensitivity. So adjust that how you see fit. I think the default works great. Let's move on. All of the aim assist, I just leave it at 100, feels good. And then this is where stuff starts to get a little convoluted. So the soldier input curve, they have the standard for this game, and then they have all the old battlefields that you can set there, and then linear as well. I have tested all of these out, and what they do is very confusing, and there's no curve to look at that they show you on a graph to show you what the curve is doing. So I have just messed around with the standard, and I find that works best. If you want to try these out, go for it, but they all feel horrible. So I leave it on standard. And then we come down here to stick input acceleration presets. Now this feature, I'm not exactly sure what this acceleration feature is supposed to do, because what it says it does doesn't make any sense. Logically, you'd think if you add acceleration, once you hit your max sensitivity, or you hit 100% on the analog stick, it'll go past your sensitivity and you will start zooming faster. And theoretically, it does. When in reality, what this does, if you set this value to 100, it lowers your overall sensitivity and then makes it so once you get to the 100% input on any stick that you use, it'll start to go past that slowly. But it feels horrible if you turn it on, because it makes your aim feel like it's stuck in the mud and you can't adjust anything, you can't make micro adjustments. It makes the aiming feel horrible. My recommendation is just to turn this off, or start at 0 and then slowly raise it until you feel like you have a little bit of precision, because there is some precision to be gained here. But I find that leaving this off makes the aiming in the game feel way better than anything else. And if you have this on at all, it starts to feel really wonky, and you start to feel like you can't aim properly, and it feels like you're fighting your analog stick to control where you're trying to aim. So that's what that does. It's sort of a little misleading as to what it does, because it doesn't just add acceleration on to the end, so I would leave that off. Now, if you're wondering where the ADS modifiers are for your aiming, because if you look up here, it's just got the base aim sensitivity, and you're like, well, what if I want to adjust my ADS? Scroll all the way down. They have zoom right here, and you can customize the buttons, the steady scope buttons, and then we come down to here. So first thing I'm going to touch on is the vertical aim ratio. The game claims that if you have this at 100, it'll make your vertical sensitivity and your horizontal sensitivity the exact same. That's a lie. If you set this to 100, your vertical sensitivity will be higher than your horizontal, and I've found that 70 gives you sort of circular aim where your vertical aim and your horizontal aim feel they're at the same sensitivity. So 70 is if you want circular aim, and if you want your vertical to be lower, you can adjust that down. And then you come down here and you have your infantry zoom aim sensitivity, which just means while you're ADS'd, if you want it to be slower, you lower it. If you want it to be higher while ADS for whatever reason, you can do that. And then there's a 1.25 zoom aim sensitivity modifier. I'm not quite sure what this does because I just used one gun the whole time. So as I play more, I might understand this, but I'm assuming it affects the same thing if you have a higher zoom. But that's how you adjust the zoom. And then if you scroll down, you have a few more customizations here that you can mess with. You don't have to if you don't want to. Now, what if you want to adjust your dead zone? Like what if you have stick drift, or it doesn't feel like the controller or the game is registering your micro adjustments for your aiming? Well, you'll hit controller, you'll go back into edit settings, and instead of clicking into the control settings modify, you will scroll all the way down, and you will have controller tuning at the bottom here. And you click into it, you can adjust vibration sensitivity, and then you have your dead zone settings here. You have your left stick, and then you have your right stick. And what I would recommend you do is you should turn your right stick all the way to 0, hop into the firing range, and it does run low enough that you should have stick drift in there. So you should go in there, hold ADS, you'll notice your guy's aim start to float off in a direction. That's good, that's what you want. Then come back here and just adjust it up until you don't have stick drift anymore, so that you're using all of your stick. And if you feel like it's still a little too sensitive, you can just raise your dead zone settings a little bit more, and you will be fine. That's what I would recommend to do. The axial dead zone, the best way I can explain this is picture a plus sign placed right over your analog stick. And the plus sign is made up of just a rectangle on the vertical, a rectangle on the horizontal. And all this does is if you wanted to aim straight up and you have a little bit of deviation on your analog stick, like you might be a little bit to the left or to the right, but you're still trying to hold just up, it'll make it so you only aim straight up or straight left or straight right or straight down. And if you adjust this bigger, it'll sort of make that plus sign bigger and thicker so that you can have more deviation a little bit to the left or right if you were trying to aim just up, and it will still only aim vertical. If you feel like you can't aim to the left or right and pull down at the same time, you can try lowering that and it'll make it feel a lot more sensitive. But I find that leaving it at the default 15 has been fine, and I haven't had any issues, but you can adjust that if you'd like to. And then the maximum input threshold is just if you don't feel like you're getting 100% input when you hold the aiming at the max input, you can lower that and it should compensate for that. And then they have some L2, R2 dead zone settings. I don't really need to mess with it as I use trigger stops, and that sort of turns off the adaptive trigger functionality that you can adjust from here. That is the basics of where all the settings are. It can be a little confusing too, because if you click controller and you go into these edit settings and you wanted to be adjusting some sensitivity, you'd come in here, you'd have to go all the way to where the sensitivities are at. You adjust something, you go out of this menu, and it kicks you all the way back to here, and if you want to go back in, you have to go back to controller, hit triangle, go again. So that's kind of where everything's at in the menu. So I hope that helps kind of clear up some confusion about where things are in the menu, because the menuing can be a little confusing. Again, things might change as this is just the beta, but this should help you sort of fine-tune your aim how you see fit. So that's all I got for now. I'm going to go ahead and stop yapping. If you found this video helpful, that's great. Happy I could help. and I appreciate you guys taking the time to check this out and watching my video. But that's all I got for now. See ya.